Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continued today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's The Gold Standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Thanks for joining us on the Gold Standard radio show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn reporting for duty. And Ken, I'm sorry, you look like you're engrossed in some reading. What's going on over there?
Newsweek magazine from 2016. The special Madam President. There's 94 full pages about Hillary
Glossy color,
Clinton.
by the way.
Wow. Well, I did want to say thank you, though, to a client that sent this.
Now, what you got, you showed me, this was like in a plastic wrapper. It's Madam President, Newsweek. Obviously, Newsweek must have printed that in anticipation of the big Hillary Clinton win in 2016 that never came because she got trumped.
Yeah, well, everybody's in here. Tipper's in here, Al Gore's in here, Joe's in here. What was this one's name? That was her.
Oh, that's Uma Abedi.
Uma's in here.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Mrs. Weiner. Remember, she was married to Anthony Weiner.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's quite the who's who. Well,
fireplace material.
I love... Not to read by the fireplace, folks.
Well, I have a disclaimer I want to read before we start real quick.
You can't build a fire. We're broadcasting from California.
Audience, please note that any errors or misquotes on this show are a direct result of climate change. Unusual and excessive heat and or damp may have damaged my keyboard and microphone and affected my dendrites. Because of global warming and cooling, I can no longer take any responsibility for anything. Thank you for your understanding. That's from my client, Joan, who I love, Joan.
That is very, very good, by the way. I love that. It's good to have a disclaimer because everything this week, we're going to go through some news headlines.
Oh, yeah.
Quite seriously, though, Joe Biden was at the UN this week talking all about climate change.
Yes, he did. Yeah. There was actually a article or a headline that I saw today. It said he was going to, what did he say?
I think we have it right here, right? It's he's going to put like a climate Band-Aid on everything. Oh, Biden promises America will be the largest single country donor of humanitarian assistance and vows to climate-proof the world in the UN General Assembly address.
I mean, why not?
How do you
that's worth a few
world?
trillion. Why not? What a guy. What
Are we
man.
talking about like an umbrella? Like an umbrella for everybody?
What an agenda.
All I know is it costs money. That's all I know, is that all of this climate stuff is very expensive. The vice president this week was asked about environmental racism.
Well, we can just print as much as we want, though, Jen.
To pay for
33 trillion I saw today. Yippee! We're past 33 trillion.
Did you bring your champagne to pop?
I did.
This is unbelievable.
I went to the gas station this morning.
Got a little
$6.50 a gallon for 89.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, more of the same. And what's our answer is, we're doing a great job, and more of the same, and this is fantastic, and
no problems.
Let's print more money, and I think it's $2 trillion in the last year.
We're going to go through some of these headlines, but of course, we want to remind you that if you are thinking about investigating gold, silver, precious metals, Midas Gold Group is the place to go. Veteran owned. They are absolutely fantastic. America First Patriots, 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD, or 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com. We'll talk about that throughout the program. But before we can look ahead at some of the headlines of the week, before we can look into the current financial landscape. Hold on. He's tuning up. We've brought in
that's
ghost
Mitch.
When
he's not staring into space.
When he's not having a freeze moment. But it all started back in 1971, where the way we got where we are today is based on some big decisions, an experiment, if you will, by the president of the United States back in 1971. That president was Richard Nixon.
The birth of, let's say, monopoly money, right?
Right.
The birth of printing unlimited fiat money, and our money was no longer backed by gold.
Emphasis on paper money, because that's
right.
what it is paper.
The fiat experiment that's failing today. And it went something like this. I am not a crook. And Governor Connolly, who by chance was riding that same automobile as President Nixon and President Kennedy in 1963. You remember him? But anyway, I've told him today to no longer allow the convertibility of U.S. dollars into gold. And this is going to be for the benefit of the markets, and we're going to lower volatility and just print and spend, boys. It's a good old boys club.
Print and spend.
Print and spend.
And you're not a crook.
Not a crook. Doing the right thing. Doing what I was told to do.
I'm telling you, Nixon, he gets better every week. I like it.
Well, I mean, since 1913, Jen, the central bankers, they control things. The Federal Reserve was formed in 1913, and then it took us off the gold standard partially in 1933. They asked everybody to turn in their gold, made the ownership of gold illegal, actually threatened to put people in prison. Crazy. 1945, the United States, with our strong military, becomes the world reserve currency. Right, that's a big deal.
Huge.
1971, we removed the dollar from the gold standard. It's backed by nothing. 1974, we negotiate with Saudi Arabia to become the petrodollar, which was obviously a big advantage for the United States. And now Saudi Arabia is getting real close to China and in bed with the BRIC nations, and petrodollar status is slipping away, and world reserve currency status is slipping away, and our mental patients who are running this country are spending and slipping away, and there's no answers for what's going on. My contention is that we're too far gone. This country needs to go through a very difficult period. Socially, politically, that's where we're going through.
And that's where we are. That's where we're heading, right? And I think many of us feel that. And that's why you entitled, when we were talking about what the show is about today, it's about that tipping point.
It is.
And how to deal with it, how to protect yourself when we get to it. And I think there's an argument to be made that we already are here at this tipping point.
Yeah, well, think about this, Jen. 6 months ago, we had the second, third, and fourth largest bank failures in the history of our country.
But you wouldn't know it.
6 months ago.
It's crazy.
Now, interest rates are higher since then. We have more debt since then.
Yep.
Politically, we're in a worse position today than we were back then. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, these banks are in serious trouble.
That's right.
The system is very fragile. Anything can start an avalanche. And my question to you is would you want to be in front of that avalanche with all of your money, connected to a sick system, connected to a dollar that's backed by nothing, connected to leadership that has no answers except print more money and spend more money? In my opinion, you need to distance yourself, Jen.
Yeah.
If you're someone who's listening out there and, you want to do what's right, distance yourself from what the banks are going through and what are eventually going to go through, and distance yourself from this bubble that we're in, because it's fake, and eventually it's going to pop.
I think it's important that we give you the number right now for Midas Gold Group. If you don't want to be on the wrong side of the tipping point, if you don't want to be there when that pop happens, protect yourself, protect your family, bring gold into your home. It's safe, it's secure, it's away from government overreach. And oh, by the way, it's been used for how many years on this planet? We don't even know. How long has gold been used?
I mean,
thousands
all the way
of
back
years.
to 600 BC in Lydia. I mean, it's always been a store of value, a medium of exchange. But
it's real. 855-322-4653. 855-322-GOLD. GOLD. 855-322-GOLD. MidasGoldGroup.com. And Ken, before we move on from this, because you brought in these headlines, do you mind?
Yeah, let's go over those real quick.
Because
sure, why not? Let's give the folks a real dose of what's going on out there.
Well, I'm going to save the one for last that matches up with this conversation. So first, we'll start with the U.S. national debt. It's $33 trillion. You brought that up
and that's
for the
what they
first
tell
time.
us. Our unfunded liabilities are $200 trillion or more. It's never going to be paid. The interest on our debt is close to $1 trillion a year, more than we spend on military. It's a disaster, and it's getting worse.
Biden, as we just mentioned, promises America to be the largest single country donor of humanitarian aid. He's going to climate-proof the world.
Yeah,
okay,
clown,
fantastic.
embarrassing. What the agendas are just, out there. Have nothing to do with the best interests of the people of the United States.
Here's where we get into what I want to drill into for the next minute or so. Australia's fifth largest bank announces digital-only transactions will phase out cash, check, and phone payments in all 80 branches starting next year. And here it is, the doozy. Majority of Americans are concerned about bank branch closures, which are hitting poorer households hardest as firms like Wells Fargo, PNC, and U.S. Bank abandoned more than 1,000 locations this year alone. Now, this happened, I shared with you, my local bank, where I have had most of my money since I was old enough to start working, closed down. Now, it's finally reopened, but it was closed for over a year. People are telling you stories, Ken, of going into their bank to try to cash out money. They don't have amounts like $5,000 or $10,000 to cash out. This is really concerning. Just forget everything we're talking about in future and spending, and think about this. Let's say you need $5,000 and you want to walk into your bank. Is your bank going to be open?
Yeah, is it going to be available? Are they going to want to give you your money, which is crazy, right? It's a very real thing. I don't see that changing at all, except getting worse. We are headed towards a digital system without question. So what's going to happen? They're going to limit us, the amount of money we can take out of the bank or the markets or out of our IRA. Then we become a digital system.
That's right.
Then we have no branches to go to. Then the system crashes. Where's our money? Mm-hmm. What's it worth? So, I mean, why take that risk? I would really consider why you would have so much money wrapped up in a rotten, dying system like that with a risky, fragile banking environment that's also drowning in debt and bad investments. I mean, and where are we supposed to turn? But now those decisions have to be made. You have to make these decisions now, because if you go to the bank and there's a lock on the door, or if you go to your ATM machine and it doesn't work, or takes your card and doesn't spit anything out, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you have to make those decisions.
That's right. So 855-322-4653, that's the number to call from Midas Gold Group. Gold, silver, precious metals. When we come back, because I want to give this a little bit of time, you brought in kind of the superstar, I think, of the precious metals world. We're going to show a product here in just a moment. But I do think it's important to urge you, if you've been listening to our program, if you've been hearing about Midas Gold, stop waiting. Call Midas Gold right now. They are fantastic people. You can go and see them in person. If you're near Phoenix, Arizona, if you're in Thousand Oaks, California, go and see them in person or call 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. MidasGoldGroup.com is the web address, which is always available, Ken, if you have questions.
Yeah, and if we're busy, leave a message. I mean, we don't work 24 hours, 7 days a week,
We're working
365. But, we'll get back to you, and there's still an opportunity right now. The time is right. No better time to buy gold than 20 years ago. Second best time is today.
855-322-GOLD. More up ahead. It is the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: central bank digital currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications, the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on the Gold Standard. You can create your own Gold Standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Welcome back to the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo, Jennifer Horn, happy to be together. We always have fun together, Ken, even talking about some of the dire consequences that we have to suffer because of our leaders in our country, global leaders, making some really bad decisions.
Is that we're providing solutions here.
That's right.
We're providing an opportunity for people to survive this financially, come out of the other side when the dust settles, and then we can see what we want to do. But in the meantime, defense, little place to run for cover, and gold and silver has always been money. It's an easy thing to do that with. So Let's talk about this little guy here.
It's a hedge and it's protective. 855-322-GOLD. You have what I call the celebrity, because if you listen to any of the commercials or the radio stuff, everybody talks about the Morgan Silver dollar.
Yeah.
I feel like that little guy right there is
kind
a
of feel like a cowboy, back in the 1800s, going to a saloon and throwing it on the bar and getting a whole bottle of whiskey.
Wouldn't that be nice? Now, how much is that worth today, the Morgan Silver dollar?
I mean, something in this condition, if it's not a auction coin or if it's just a regular common date, you're probably anywhere from $40 to $50.
So you could get a whole bottle of whiskey for that still.
Yeah. Now, you have some of these Morgans, which is the silver coin from the 1870 to the 1904 period.
It's beautiful. I think it's beautiful still.
So do I. It has a side profile of Lady Liberty on the front, and it has kind of a scrawny eagle or so, just kind of standing up on
He's a hungry
olive
eagle.
branch. Yeah. Well, it was early in our country.
That's right.
Our country was still building.
That's right. Before McDonald's took over.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Before we became, more of a fast food nation.
Fast food nation, right?
I would just say that I love this coin because when I look at it, it reminds me of real money. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of something that if I hold on to it will always have worth.
Yep.
It reminds me of the part of the United States of a time period which, in my opinion, represented some of the best times of our country as we were building into the superpower that we became.
Do you want to know why? Because it was a time when we still had that pioneering, entrepreneurial, proud of American spirit where we wanted to build and do better instead of the complacent place that many people find themselves.
Amen.
Where they're waiting for the government to take over. This was a time when people were on their own in large part. The government was there doing the big stuff, but we were providing for ourselves at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you had to fight for what was yours and what you wanted to accomplish, and you're given an opportunity to prove yourselves. I mean, it wasn't 100% all fine and dandy, but a lot better than today, and the American spirit was a lot stronger. It's unfortunate, but that's where we're at. I mean, we've created this situation. Obviously, we're just talking about protecting our money and diversifying. There's a lot more serious things going on in this country, politically and socially. But financially, we do have a choice. Financially, we don't have to comply.
Right.
Financially, we can protect ourselves. So when the first bank that goes under and they actually take people's money, people are going to freak out. And they're going to say, well, how could that happen here? Well, because that's the direction we're headed. We're headed towards an abyss. It's a big black hole that we've created. And financially, there's no getting out of this. We're either going to have to print hundreds of trillions of dollars, and then our dollar is going to be worth almost nothing. Or we're going to, just stop doing it. The system is going to crash. Markets are going to crash, and we're not going to know what we have left. So either way, you got to protect yourself. Those decisions are made now. Take a little bit of money out of the banking system. Take a little bit of money out of the markets while you still can. I mean,
absolutely.
Do you see some of this news, Jen, that's like coming out with China?
I know. And by the way, call if you're interested in the Morgan Silver dollar, if you're interested in gold and silver, 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, locations in Thousand Oaks, California, in Phoenix, Arizona, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Yeah, just call in. You don't have to be afraid.
Let's talk about China.
Yeah, let's talk about China.
Because I love doing my President Trump.
That's pretty good.
I think I'm a good girl, President Trump.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're a good girl.
Well, I'm a good girl.
Yes.
But at doing President Trump.
You do.
Like China.
Yes.
That's good.
China.
So you can't even say it the right way.
Obviously has their own financial problems.
Yes.
And they're literally a lot even harder to understand or comprehend, bigger than ours. You have Evergrande Group, which is like one of the largest property developers in their nation, declared bankruptcy a couple weeks ago. They owe $340 billion. People are furious. They've paid for their homes. They're just not finished.
Yeah. Country
Garden, China's biggest home builder, $200 billion in liabilities. They're headed into the abyss. Sino-Ocean, top 20 developer, $8 billion in debt. They stopped payments on their U.S. bonds on Friday. This is a country that either on purpose or just unintentionally, more than likely controls the demolition of our system. Because if they want to just dump all of their debt and all of their nonsense onto us, it's all related. This is all interconnected. This is a global problem. I know we joke about our leaders, and I know we joke about that, and we could have better leadership, but this is a debt situation, Jen. It's a global problem.
Yeah,
this
has
never,
just us.
No, this has never happened. So the consequences are also going to be to the same degree. They're going to be global. And the first thing that starts this avalanche, people aren't going to have the ability to do anything about it. They're not going to be able to reach their banker. They're not going to be able to reach their stockbroker. They're not going to be able to reach anybody where their money's tied up. You have to kind of distance yourself from what's coming, because it is coming. I don't know if it's coming in a week. Is it coming in two weeks, 3 years, 5 years? I don't know.
But the writing's on the wall.
Absolutely,
and
it's
so
on the
if you
right.
hear us and
on the
you
wall.
hear and you see the writing on the wall, and you are one of those astute people who look around and you see the headlines and you see the bank collapsing and you see that we are tied in very tightly to China, and if they go, we go. If we go, they go. This is a world problem, and this is not something that we're just going to fix with a Band-Aid.
Yeah, and are you willing to risk everything you've saved and everything
you've
you've
worked
invested
for?
and
That's
worked
right.
for on the market, on a stock market bubble, on a bond market bubble, on a risky real estate market, which is probably near its highs, right?
Yeah,
At
and we've
least
seen
for
a
the time
collapse
being.
before.
That's right. And a banking system that we don't know. I mean, did you wake up? Is your money still there? I mean, these are some of the things literally that people should be very concerned about. I don't want the worst thing to happen for this country, but we're a company that has fought for freedom, and
Quite
we're going to
literally,
fight
because you're veteran owned.
and we're going to fight for financial survival. This is about financial survival due to the corruption and the greed of our central bankers and politicians for decades, and now it's out of hand. You know, what do they say? Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, cat's out of the bag.
It's all coming home to roost. What could you do about it?
Yep.
Well, what you can do about it is protect yourself and convert some of your paper assets into gold, something you could hold on to, and silver.
855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD. We spell it out, but you can dial the numbers, 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com. And these are the very real problems that people are considering right now. We haven't even started talking about digital currency and the whole new set of problems that brings, which is government oversight, overreach into your life. I mean, we could be, anything is possible at this time. We could be talking about social credit scores at this time next year.
Things are going to get
nuts.
People are guarding gas stations with AR-15s in Philadelphia.
It's nuts.
And I think a steak, what are the cheesesteak places?
Yeah, Philly cheesesteak. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, think about this.
This is crazy.
You need to have, and I think they've got like AR-15s in front of the cheesesteak place.
They do. Armed. Security.
Crazy. So protect yourself. Protect
where's
your
the security
investments.
for your money?
That's it. Pretend you're a Philly cheesesteak stand.
I love
Protect
those
yourself.
cheesesteaks.
I'm not a big fan, but it's the weird cheese, I think, for me.
I don't know. I'm in.
855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. That's a number for Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD.
You know, Jen, about 20 or 30 years ago, you're probably, well, maybe 30 years ago, you were able to probably buy one of those cheesesteaks with one of these silver coins.
Isn't that amazing? But the value has increased on those silver coins.
Well, let's say that this is a $40 silver coin, and let's say a cheesesteak is 10. So you could actually buy 4 cheesesteaks for this one silver coin.
Shows that even if, and you buy gold and you buy silver and metals that you hold at home, you buy that for the safety and the security that it brings. But if you're really lucky, things go in the way that we say that they might, you might actually be gaining wealth with your gold and silver, which is pretty incredible.
You know, if you saw gold 20 years ago was 300, now it's 1900.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, silver's been to 52 times in its history. I mean, if the dollar falls in value, or when it does, it makes sense that gold and silver are going to reflect that at a higher price. It's not so much that the gold price goes up; it's that our dollar continues to lose value.
That's
the more they print it into, oblivion, the more debt that we keep piling on. What do you think's going to happen to the buying power of our paper? Yeah. It's going to diminish. It's going to disappear, just like it's doing.
That's why you want something real to hold on to at home in your safe, so you can access it. You don't have to rely on the banks. Call right now, Midas Gold Group, MidasGoldGroup.com. The phone number, once again, 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD, or MidasGoldGroup.com. Thanks for joining us. It's the Gold Standard Radio Show with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.